Hello and welcome to this video. Based on the request of a subscriber, we are going to do a AS level question from paper 2, variant 22, May-June 2019, question 3 based on ratio analysis. The question states that the financial statement provides information to enable the users to evaluate the financial performance of the business. In the EBIT of the question, we are asked to state 3 reasons why it might be difficult to compare the financial ratios between the businesses in the same industry. You see, there are various reasons because of which it may be difficult for comparing two firms in the same industry using the ratio analysis. Why? Because the companies may be using different accounting policies. Say the two firms which we are comparing have different accounting policies related to the inventory valuation. One company is using LIFO method of inventory valuation and the other is using FIFO method of inventory valuation. Or when we talk about the non-current assets, one company is depreciating its assets using straight line method and the other is depreciating its assets using reducing balance method. Therefore, if two such companies are compared using ratio analysis, then the information which we get may not be accurate. Then next we have is that we use the historic cost when we prepare the accounts. What is this historic cost? This is the cost of purchasing the non-current assets plus installation charges of the non-current assets. Suppose the two companies which we are comparing, company A have purchased its assets 10 years back and company B have purchased its assets just 2 years back. So when we compare two such firms, therefore, the information which we may get may be misleading. And the other reason may be because there may be difference in the year end. Say one company have the financial year end based on the calendar year, that is they start from the 1st Jan and ends on 31st December. And the other company which we are comparing this firm with have the financial year which starts from 1st April and ends on 31st March of the next year, then this comparison will not be appropriate. Furthermore, there may be non-monetary factors which may also be very important for the success of the business. And when we compare two firms using the financial ratios, we just consider the monetary factors and we don't consider the non-monetary factors like the organization culture, the efficiency of the workforce, the skills of the workforce, which are very important for the success of the business. Next, the relative size of the business is also important when they are compared. That is, if one firm is very big and the other is small, then the comparison is inappropriate. Or if one firm is labor intensive and the other is capital intensive, then also the comparison may give you a misleading picture. Then the effects of window dressing. What is window dressing? Window dressing is when the accountant might boost or flatter the performance of a company. Like they may sell the assets at the end of the year and lease them back just to show the good liquidity position of the company, or the accountants may reduce the rate of depreciation so that they can show the non-current assets at a higher value, and these effects also leads to misleading information when we compare the firms using the ratio analysis. So these are the various reasons because of which it will become very difficult to compare two firms in the same industry using ratio analysis. Furthermore, we have additional information which states that X Limited is a wholesaler of sports goods. The directors of the company have provided the following information for the year ended 30th April 2019. Revenue $742,630. Cost of sales $459,991. For the year ended 30th April 2019, the rate of inventory turnover was 7.5 times. The value of inventory at 1st May 2018 was $57,682. At 30th April 2019, the trade receivables turnover was 35 days and the trade payable turnover was 32 days. All the sales are made on credit. Credit purchases amount to 80% of the value of the cost of sales. In the B bit of the question, the first bit which we are asked is to calculate at 30th April 2019 the closing inventory. For calculating the closing inventory, we are going to use this information which is given that for the year ended 30th April 2019, the rate of inventory turnover was 7.5 times. So, for the rate of inventory turnover ratio, we have the formula which is equal to cost of sales divided by average inventory. And if we take the average inventory to the other side, it will be equal to cost of sales divided by the rate of inventory turnover. We have cost of sales which is $459,991, and we will divide this with the rate of inventory turnover which is 7.5 times. We will get the average inventory as $61,332. Now this is average inventory. We need to find the closing inventory. What is average inventory? Average inventory is the opening inventory plus the closing inventory divided by 2. So we will take this to the other side. It will be average inventory times 2, and it will be 61,332 times 2, that is which we got here as average inventory times 2. So it will be equal to $122,664. We know the opening inventory which is provided here, that is the value of inventory at 1st May 2018 was $57,682. So we will place this value in the opening inventory. So once we substitute this value for the opening inventory and take the opening inventory to the other side, we get the closing inventory as $122,664 minus $57,682. Hence, the closing inventory will be $64,982. In the second bit, we have to calculate the trade receivable. For this, we have revenue which is $742,630, trade receivable turnover period which is 35 days, and all the sales are made on credit. So for trade receivable turnover period, we have the formula which is trade receivables times 365 days divided by the credit sales. So if we take the credit sales to the other side, it will be in multiplication, and 365 days in the other side, it will be in division. So now our trade receivable will be equal to trade receivable turnover period times the credit sales which is divided by 365 days. Then the trade receivable, if we substitute the value here, the trade receivable turnover period is 35 days, and the credit sales which is given as $742,630 divided by 365 days, we will get the trade receivable as $71,211. In the third bit of the question, we are asked to calculate the trade payables. For trade payables, the information which is given is trade payables turnover period was 32 days. The cost of sales was $459,991, and the credit purchases amounted to 80% of the value of cost of sales. So 80% of $459,991 will be equal to $367,993, which are our credit purchases. Now for trade payable turnover period, we have the formula which is trade payables times 365 days divided by the credit purchases. So when we transpose the credit purchases to the other side, here it is in division, on the other side it will be in multiplication, and 365 days is in multiplication, and if we transpose it, it will be in division. So our trade payables will be equal to trade payable turnover period times credit purchases divided by 365 days. Now when we substitute the value, that is for trade payable turnover period we have 32 days, and for credit purchases we calculated it as $367,993 divided by 365 days, we will get the trade payables as $32,262. Next, we have additional information which says that X Limited has an operating expense to revenue ratio of 30%. Distribution costs are twice as much as administrative expenses. Finance cost of 5% of the profit for the year. In the C bit of the question, we are asked to prepare the income statement for X Limited for the year ended 30th April 2019. So let's do the calculations in the working notes. Then we will proceed and make the income statement as much as possible, and whatever is missing we will calculate again and complete the income statement. So here what is mentioned is that the operating expense to revenue, that is operating expenses divided by revenue is equals to 30%. So operating expense to revenue ratio is operating expense divided by revenue. So when we take the revenue to the other side, we get operating expense as operating expense is equals to operating expense to revenue ratio times revenue. We have the value of revenue which was given in the information before bit B of the question. So now we will calculate the operating expenses, which is equals to $742,630, which was given as revenue, times 30%. We will get the operating expenses as $222,789. Now what else is mentioned is that the distribution expenses is twice of the administrative expenses. So it is 2:1. So when we calculate the distribution expenses, it will be 2 divided by 3, because 2/3 will be the distribution expense and 1/3 will be the administrative expense. So $222,789 times 2 divided by 3. Therefore, our distribution expenses will be $148,526, and our administrative expenses will be $222,789 times 1/3. It will be $74,263. Now, as we have the information till profit from operation, let's make the income statement till that point, and then we will calculate the financial cost as well as the profit for the year and complete the income statement. So let's start. Income statement for X Limited for the year ended 30th April 2019 will be revenue, which was given as $742,630. From there we will subtract the cost of sales. We will get the gross profit as $282,639. Then we have calculated the distribution cost in our second working notes as $148,526, and administrative expenses in the second working notes itself, that is $74,263. So when we subtract the distribution cost and the administrative expenses from the gross profit, we will get the profit from operation as $59,850. We don't know the financial cost and the profit for the year. So let's do the calculation for this, and then we will come back and complete the income statement. So if we have to proceed further, that is, if we take the profit from operation and subtract the finance cost, we will get the profit for the year. So as we have to calculate this too, that is the finance cost as well as the profit for the year, what we will do is we'll mention what we get here, that is profit for the year is equals to profit from operation minus the finance cost, which I have mentioned here. And if we take the profit for the year as 100%, we know the finance cost is 5%, and if we substitute it in the formula, that is 100% is equals to profit from operation minus 5%, then we will get profit from operation is equal to 100% plus 5%, because if we take 5% to the other side, it becomes plus. We will get this as 105%. So if it is 105%, the value is $59,850, which we have calculated here. And if we want to get 100%, it will be how much? So when we cross multiply it, we get the profit for the year is equals to 100% times $59,850 divided by 105%. So the profit for the year will be $57,000, and the finance cost is 5% of this, which will be $2,850. Now we have all the information, so let's complete the income statement. Here we will subtract the finance cost, which is calculated in the third working notes as $2,850, and we will get the profit for the year as $57,000. Next, we have additional information which states that on 1st October 2018, X Limited paid a dividend of $25,000 on the basis of 8 cents per ordinary share of $1 each. On 1st Feb 2019, X Limited made a right issue of 1 ordinary share for every 5 held at a premium of 50 cents. This was the first time that X Limited have issued new shares. The right issue was fully subscribed, and in the debate of the question, we are asked to calculate the proceeds received by X Limited from the right issue. So to find the proceeds, first we need to know the total number of right issue of shares, and here the information which is given is that the right issue of shares are done on the basis that if you already have 5 ordinary shares, then one right issue of shares will be issued. We don't know even the number of ordinary shares which have been issued. So first let's find out the total number of ordinary shares which was issued. So for this we have the formula that dividend per share is equals to ordinary dividend paid divided by the number of issued ordinary shares. So when we transpose this, it will be number of issued ordinary shares is equals to ordinary dividend paid divided by dividend per share. Here the ordinary dividend paid is $25,000 divided by dividend per share, which is given is 8 cents or $0.08. So the number of ordinary share issue will be $25,000 divided by 8 cents, which will be 312,500 ordinary shares. So this was issued, and here the information which we have started with, it was that one right issue of shares if you have 5 ordinary shares, and if you have 312,500 ordinary shares, how many right issue of shares will be done? So when you cross multiply it, it will be 312,500 times 1 divided by 5, which will be 62,500 shares. These are the shares which are issued through right issue. Now the value, the face value of share is $1, and we are issuing with at a premium of 50 cents. So the value at which we are going to issue the right issue of shares will be $1 plus 50 cents, which will be $1.50. So for 62,500 shares, it will be 62,500 times $1.50, which will be equal to $93,750. So these are the proceedings which we will receive by the right issue of shares. And with this, we have completed this question. Thanks for watching my videos and have a great life.